I'm Turtle Brannon. I'm a drag racer and I love my job. I love what I do and I made a good life at it. Hey, how you doing? This is my house, my shop now. I started out as just a beginner mechanic, and all this land right here was farmland. We had horses and cows and pigs and dogs and all kinds of stuff on it, and I started down in my daddy's basement down there working on cars, and he finally wanted to get me out of the house, so he said he'd build me a shop, but he wanted to stick me out in the woods, and I told him I had to have a good location. I couldn't really get any work when nobody could find me, so he was going to build me a garage. So we started this right here, building this garage, and then he said, well, I want to get you out of my house, so I'm just going to build you a house on top of it. So this is where I started at the beginning right here. I worked in these two little bays working on cars for everybody, trying to build my name up and stuff. And then I'd go race with the money I made working in the shop, and then ended up was able to build me another shop with the money I made racing. So it was all pretty good stuff. My daddy was a carpenter and my brothers was all carpenters. I'm the only one that ended up being a mechanic. My daddy made me earn it the hard way. Every one of these blocks up here I towed it at least 4 times. Dug my own sand out of a creek bed. Made me get up every morning at 7 o'clock to 11 at night, 3 months straight building this house. I wanted to take a break in the middle of it. He said, what do you want, a house or social life? I said, a house. So that's what I got. This is my first shop I built right here after I moved out of the basement. I built this shop with money out racing and stuff, and then I added on later to the other sides of it. This here's my guard dog. That's one that takes care of me. She keeps me safe. She's a real good watchdog. She does her job. She works at night and sleeps during the day. Most of my adult life, I've worked for myself working on cars, learning about how to work on cars. It's a very tedious and a very demanding job, and you have to be very dedicated to what you do to be at your best. And to beat a lot of people, you have to be your best. And you have to be very dedicated. A lot of times I get a paycheck, I might get paid twice a week. Sometimes I might go a month before I get a paycheck. If this is not the life for you, then you don't need to do this type of work. But I get a lot of self-enjoyment out of what I do more than I do the money. It's more about the fun and the things I do with my friends that I enjoy the most. This is one of my very first street cars. You know, like most kids, you get out there and you want to play with your car and before you ever go to the track. And this is my street car I played with right here. Had a lot of fun with that car. 67 RSSS Camaro with a big block in it. So it was fun to drive, 4-speed. It was fun. This green picture up here, that was my very first race I won right there. Very first one at Greer. It was one of my good friends. He helped me in the racing and stuff, but that's one of my very first wins in the car. Now, all these other pictures are mostly ones where you stand in front of the car or wins. And I had a good year in that car. 13 in one, when it was white, I won 13 in 1 year in it. These up here is my first picture. That's actually the first passes down the track right here. That was at Shady Side in the early days, back in the 80s. And this is at Shuffletown in Charlotte right here. I was starting to get it together a little bit, and then I finally got it painted down here. And this is actually the first color it was when I raced. I raced it for 3 years before I ever won a race, but that was fun back in. And here's some of the other pictures on the wall of different colors of the car through the years of racing it. These are all the same car, just different colors. It actually won more races when it was white than any color I had. But I really like driving it because it does some nice wheelies, and the kids and everybody really loved to see the wheelies and stuff. And it was fun to drive. This is the second paint job I put on it. And this is the third paint job that I put on it. That's when it was the most fun right there to drive. Back when I first started fooling with cars, I had an old man that he would teach me the basics about a car. And he was a good teacher. He brought me along real slow, had a lot of patience with me. And that's what it takes when you're fooling with a car, is to have a lot of patience. These are some of the trophies I won through the years of racing. I've had good success in, and actually won 4 races at Union down there in 1 year, and won their championship. And here's some of my championship trophies. This is actually the one from Union that I got in 09, and this is a Carolina Coalition Championship I won in 07, and this is the one I won in 06 from Greer down here in the bottom. This trophy right here was from Union Dragway. They opened up that year, and I actually won the very first race and led the points all year. Ended up winning the championship. This is my very first rail I had after decided I had to have a rail like everybody else. So I bought this rail from Steve Eckert, and he had built it for his wife, and I campaigned it for 5 years before I got another one. We had a pretty good run there. We went a 483. That was a pretty good run for our first run, but we hope to get a little better. We keep practicing at it, and I think we're going to be pretty good in this race. It was a good pace. All right, we're going to put air in this tire too, same as the other side. Pump it up. Check your air pressure. This is very critical on being a consistent car. There's 5.9, so I'm just setting my air pressure now to get ready to go to the starting line, and when I get to the starting line, I'll set it on my desired air pressure. Then I'll be ready to race. This is my charger right here. We just finished our first run, so we're going to charge a battery for the next run, and then there's a lot of little maintenance that goes into making sure you're ready to make another pass. This is where we put our number at on our gas. I have a stick I use, and I hit the same number every time. Try to get the same depth so I have the same amount of weight. Pull it out and you add till you bring it up to this line. That way you know you weigh the same every time. Back to our fuel a while ago, before the car cranked up, you want to make sure you got the same amount of fuel in there every time, because weight is so important. You can have a half a gallon more gas and it'll slow you down. Or you can run a half a gallon less gas and it will actually make you faster. That's how sensitive this fuel and weight is. This is the engine I prefer to use. This is a 565 big block Chevrolet. It's runs on a carburetor. It makes around 900 horsepower, so it's a pretty reliable piece. This is your CO2 bottle right here that controls your shifter, which works off of air, and the throttle control, which works off of air. All cars do not have this, but some do, some don't. It's not really a cheating device, it's just a tool to use in my job. This is your cooling fan right here that actually cools the car when it's not running. And your water pump is an electric water pump, and it's circulating water through the engine, simulating running. So what it does, it actually cools itself down without the motor even running. This is normal on most cars. This was your delay box right here, as I showed you earlier. But you see, this was my dial-in from a previous race, which we don't worry about that. But the 7,000ths red you've seen, I can go scroll down to this number, and I can actually add that 7,000ths I red lighted by. And that would be a perfect light, but you don't want to cut it that close, so you put yourself a few thousandths in there just for good measure, to ensure that you won't be red, because the next run we're trying to be as perfect as we can be. It's called a dash for the cash. This is called a dial-in board. That way you tell the tower that you're controlling all your dial-ins for you or your slower competitor, how fast you're going to run. Without this, they wouldn't know how fast you wanted to run. This is a digital dial-in board, so you can actually change it from inside the car instead of having to get out and change it every run. This changes on every pass. We can put different numbers in whatever we choose. We choose, and we have to forecast how fast we're going to run before we run. So it's like being a weatherman. You're going to be right sometimes, you're going to be wrong sometimes. Good luck. Hope everything works out good. I hope it does. Yeah, hope so too.
See ya.
Alright, see y'all.
I like her helmet.
Hey, I'll put it on?
Yeah. Oh, Lord.
Oh, okay, it open.
Turn around.
Alright, turn around.
Turn around, look up at the picture, give him a thumbs up.
Give him a thumbs up.
All right, future driver there.
How cool is that? Here, buddy.
You like that? All right. Now I have a son that races with me too. They call him Rabbit. I don't know why they want to call him Rabbit. I'm Turtle. But they should have known who won the race. But he was born, he was in my wife's womb the day she was at the racetrack driving she's got a slower truck, so she wasn't in danger of hurting him. But she went down the track with him in her belly. And I swear that's how I think he got his racing gene, was because he was around it, breathed the fumes, and enjoyed all the reaps of the benefits of the cars and stuff around him. And he has turned into one super racer, multi-time champion. And I'm very proud of him, and me and my wife are both proud of him. I think I might have taught the boy too much, though, or he had too much racing in his blood, because now I have to meet him on the track just as I would any other of my friends or my competitors, and he's actually beat me the last couple of times he's run me, and there's not many people that can say they beat him, because he is a very qualified racer. This is a picture of my son where he started at in junior dragsters. He raced it for a long time and won a bunch of trophies, and then he moved up to my old Monza, which my wife was running. She moved into my dragster, and he moved into this. And then after he raced that for a while, he got him a new dragster. And he run the black one here that I had first, and then he went to this one and run it and had a lot of success with it. And then he moved on up to the dragster that he has now. My wife was a racer too, and she would see when I'd go out and race, she'd be like, "How'd you get that? How'd you get money for doing something that's like work or fun?" And I said, "Well, the more fun you have, the more money you win." And she seen me go out and win like that, and it inspired her to want to drive. So she got in a car and learned to drive, and actually was a good, fierce competitor. people were scared of her because they knew of her reputation. My wife run in the same classes and everything I did. I fixed her car just as good as my car. And when I got to the racetrack, guess who I had to race? I got paired up with my wife. And I ain't going to tell you who won, but I think we're about even on that part. But she had all the electronics, and she was a very fierce competitor too. Me and my wife, we traveled around a lot, and she went to a lot of races, and we took both cars, and we had my son racing with us too. But she raced for probably 6 or 7 years, and then her motor messed up in her car, and we was in the process of building her a new motor for her car, which she was driving the Monza, but I tragically lost her to a brain aneurysm. So I just have to race in her memory now with her in my heart instead of her with me. This is a new dragster I'm going to. It's a Dale Maddox car. I ordered it last year and got it in January. It's all carbon fiber body, and I hope to have it out at about midsummer, being able to make some good runs with it. But I built a little truck, and I went out and run it last night, and it ran pretty good last night, so I'm having fun in it. But I'm going to build this one too, so I can go run the bigger races in this and take the little truck and run the smaller races. This is my new toy right here I'm going to take and play with. A little 2003 S10 505 big block Chevrolet. All tube chassis, all digital dash, all the electronics, all the bells and whistles I like to play with. You got your delay box, your ignition panel, you got your parachute, your on-off switch, you got your coils and your air bottles, your fire extinguisher, all your buttons that work your electronics right here. You got your line lock, you got a bump down button for your delay box. A lot of people see all these buttons, they say, why do you need all them buttons? But each one has a function. This is your on-off switch right here. This is on now. This cuts all the power off in case you had an accident, or if you want to store your car overnight without the power being towards your car to keep a lot safer from a fire. To use this switch, it cuts your power on when you're driving, but in case of an accident, the crew or whoever comes up to the car first can hit that switch right there, and it's a safety issue. It kills all the fire to the whole car. That way, if something's electrical and it's on fire, that stops everything right there. A while ago, I showed you the pull handle on the back of the truck. I actually have one inside the car that I can do manually in case I had trouble and got there and was able to do that. I could turn that power off and on with this one. Now this other one right here controls the parachutes on the back of the truck. When I make my run, if I'm in trouble, I can pull this and it will pop out my parachute and help me stop. This is your parachute right here, where we showed you that cable inside the handle. When you pull that handle, it pulls this cable through right here, and this blossoms open right here, and there's about a 2-foot spring in there that's connected. It will actually shoot out of the car and drag the ground and catch a little air. And what it does, it's a pre-chute, and it pulls out the main chute that blossoms into a big parachute that helps the truck stop in emergencies or anytime I need to stop fast. This is your control panel. It's got all your fuses in it and all your relays for all your options on there, like your water pump, your fuel pump, your delay board, any of that stuff. This is all your wiring for it. Here's your grounds, and that works the master control. And up here you have your ignition box. This is called the grid. It's 2 in 1 actually. You buy it in 2 separate pieces, but it's a computer controlled. You set it up with a laptop. And this is your shifting module that makes your RPMs work on your shifter. And over here I have the CO2 bottle that works the throttle control on there, that pulls the throttle in at my desired time when I need it to work, or use it as a throttle stop. These are your trans brake buttons right here, the blue ones right here. You got 2, but I only use this one. This activates when you press it in, the throttle actually goes to the floor and it idles. It's set up on a pneumatic air cylinder that pulls the throttle in at a certain time. At that same time, it locks in a trans brake in the transmission like you got it in 2 gears. It won't roll. When I release this, it starts the timers on the delay box, and it will release the throttle and pull it in, and then it will leave the line. Well, going down the track, when you get to a certain RPM, it shifts by itself. It's all programmed into this box, which you preset at an earlier time before you race to make sure you're ready to race. Alright, when I'm on the starting line ready to race, I press this button right here, and you see my gas pedal go all the way to the floor. Alright, when I let go of the button, it pulls the throttle and then it makes the shift. All you got to do is steer it. You want to see that again? Here we go. Throttle down, throttle, shift. Simple. A kid could drive this car. This USB port right here enables me to hook a laptop up to my truck and actually see how it run, what it did, and also some of the programming that's done into the truck before I run. All this plays a vital part in being a good racer. When I'm at the racetrack, I make all my changes on my ignition and all my leaves, and controls everything with the laptop on my computer. I simply hook it to the truck, dial in what I want it to do, and my computers all do what I tell it to do. The reason we have all these electronics is because we have to be very consistent when running down the track. If you're not consistent, you're not going to win. And the reason everybody has these electronics now, not just one person, everybody has it. And that's what you need to be able to win these races. You have to have the electronics and the skills to pull it off to make it work.